What's up guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg with a look at the OnePlus 3T. So this is a spec upgrade of the OnePlus 3 and replaces it. This brings a new Snapdragon 821 CPU, the same Adreno 530 GPU. We get a larger battery. We go from 3000 to 3400 milliamp hours. And they've also added a 128 gig storage option, so you can go with the baseline 64 gigs or double it for only $40 more. They've also added a 16 megapixel front-facing camera while retaining the same 16 megapixel camera along the back. The OnePlus 3T also picks up a slightly darker gray color that's called gunmetal. This replaces graphite, and we do get a price increase. We go from $399 to $439. So getting to the packaging, it's very similar to the OnePlus 3 as you might expect, although there are some changes here. So for example, you'll see the OnePlus 3T branding along the side in silver. Lifting up the lid, the first thing we'll see here is the OnePlus 3T. And of course, I have the gunmetal version in 128 gigs. This is also available in soft gold. The only piece of plastic we'll find is along the back along with our IMEI and serial number sticker. So visually, this is identical to the OnePlus 3. There is no indicator that this is a newer phone besides the color. So lifting up the tray, the first thing we'll see here is a pamphlet, and if we reverse it, we'll see a message from the CEO of OnePlus. At the bottom of the box, we'll find all of our accessories, including the dash charger, the same technology we saw with the OnePlus 3. One of the great things about dash charging is that the charging is actually handled by the wall adapter, and very little is handled by the phone. So all the heat is contained to the wall charger and not in the phone. So you won't see throttling when you're using the phone while charging it. And this rapid charging solution is fantastic for this large battery, so you're able to charge it up to 60% in only 30 minutes. Also included is our very familiar OnePlus cable with Type-A connector on one end and a USB-C connector on the other. Inside the tray, we'll find a SIM ejection tool and some paperwork, including a quick start guide. We also get a set of stickers for OnePlus in addition to dash charging. So the design of the OnePlus 3T really is unchanged here. It's nothing really spectacular, but it is a nice high-quality aluminum unibody design that's very thin, lightweight, and easy to handle. I think it's the perfect size phone at 5.5 inches, and the display is also unchanged from the previous generation, which is great because it's a stunning AMOLED display with 1080p resolution, which is good for 401 pixels per inch. That's identical to the iPhone 7 Plus, which is covered in Corning Gorilla Glass 4, which is rounded off at the edges, and they have applied a screen protector right from the factory, just like the previous generation. But this screen protector comes up to the edges of the glass much better than the previous generation. In fact, that's what I'm using to identify which phone is the 3T and which one is the 3. Once again, the OnePlus 3T has the option for on-screen or off-screen Android keys, which are configurable, so they aren't specifically identified with a shape, just a dot. And of course, we have the fingerprint sensor built in, and the fingerprint sensor is very fast, although this is not a physical button. You can just rest your finger on it. This will wake up the device and quickly unlock it. Around the sides, not much has changed here. On the right side, we'll find our power button just below our dual nano SIM tray. On the left side, we have our volume rocker, in addition to the 3-position mute switch, which allows you to silent notifications or allow priority notifications to come in. On the top side, a whole lot of nothing, and toward the bottom, you'll find our speaker grill, the USB Type-C connector, a microphone, in addition to a headphone jack. On the back, returning once again is a 16 megapixel sensor with an f2.0 aperture and optical image stabilization, and just below that we get an LED flash. This glass once again protrudes, but ultimately this camera is just as good as the one on the OnePlus 3, with excellent stabilization, very sharp images, and very fast and smooth autofocusing. The real camera news really comes down to the 16 megapixel front-facing camera with an f2.0 aperture. There are a few changes with Oxygen OS, which will be coming to the OnePlus 3 as well, but it's coming to this phone first. That includes a revised shelf interface, which houses some of our widgets. It's a much brighter interface and has some great new features, including a Manage Center to check out the phone's vital functions. Another really cool feature is the weather widget, which expands out into a full-screen interface that gives us this sort of interactive virtual reality interface that moves with the phone and reflects the current weather conditions. The drop-down notification shade also gets a new interface for the quick setting toggles. So the new look repositions the brightness slider at the bottom, which is more easily accessible, and it also gives us a new editing interface. Other parts of the interface also trade the turquoise color for a slate blue color, such as in the settings panel, and of course more changes will come with Android 7. There is a new feature that you can enable under settings, specifically under advanced settings, and it's called Deep Clear. Now, if you enable this and use the clear button for your recent applications, this will actually close down more background processes, which will prevent certain apps from pushing notifications or updating until you restart them. So you may or may not want to enable this, but it's a much more aggressive app closing utility. So one of the great things about the OnePlus 3T is that it's ending the year with one of the most powerful processors in any mobile phone, and it's doing that on a fairly low budget. And that's really impressive when you consider the Pixel XL is above $600 and has a downclocked version of the same chip. We are seeing some minor performance gains from the previous generation if we take a look at our Geekbench scores, but I think the real benefit of the 821 is better battery performance, which is a great combination with the larger battery. Now, for the most part, I don't think there's a real compelling reason to upgrade to the 3T unless you really need 120 gigs of storage and you want a little extra battery life, and of course that 16 megapixel front-facing camera. But otherwise, if you're in the market for the OnePlus, now is a great time to pick one up. So in conclusion, OnePlus is slowly increasing prices with each iteration, and this is no exception, although they still represent the best value in flagship smartphones today by combining great hardware design, specs, and features at mid-range pricing. The only thing that really separates it from phones that cost twice as much is waterproofing, Quad HD screen resolution for VR, and stereo speakers. But regardless of price, the OnePlus 3T further solidifies this as one of my favorite smartphones of the year. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this quick look at the OnePlus 3T. If you want to see my full review of the OnePlus 3, which is still applicable for this phone, I'll leave it linked in the description below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up to let me know, and I'll see you again in the next video.